Welcome back to the Kyle Olson Show. President Trump left Walter Reed Medical Center and returned to work at the White House this week. Joining me now to discuss the president's agenda is White House Deputy Press Secretary and Deputy Communications Director Brian Morgenstern. So, Brian, the president ended negotiations on a COVID relief bill on Wednesday and said he would bring it up again after the election. What additional relief would the president like to see?
Well, I appreciate the question, and thank you for having me. The president has been advocating for some time now for relief that would directly address problems facing the American people. For example, we've supported a standalone airline bill to keep those employees from being laid off. We've supported funding for school safety so that schools can reopen, so that parents no longer have to play double duty as parent and teacher. We've supported small business relief, the Paycheck Protection Program. Half of our country is employed by small businesses. We want those businesses to have the funds they need to keep their employees connected to their job. It's very important. We've supported stimulus checks, the economic impact payments to those who need them, and we supported additional unemployment insurance. And these are really important measures that will help Americans have the liquidity they need to get to the end of these lockdowns. And by the way, we have to end the lockdowns. We have to do things in a safe and common sense way so that we can get people back to work, back to school, back to church. We can do this. And the president wants to do it. We know there are some people who are hurting who need some relief. So we've supported these measures. And it got to the point where it was clear that the speaker was not really negotiating in good faith towards the sorts of solutions that I've described that both parties agree on. She was insisting on including a number of things that really had nothing to do with the coronavirus, like bailing out states that haven't managed their budgets very well. Well, the president is not going to allow her to exploit this situation that our country never asked for. They never asked for a contagion to come over from China. And we're not going to let the speaker exploit the situation to spend a bunch of money that has nothing to do with this current situation. So we are continuing to be open-minded. The president has tweeted, look, if you send me one-off bills, send me a stimulus check bill, send me an airline bill, send me something that addresses these problems, and I'm happy to talk. But at this point, the speaker has been unwilling to negotiate in good faith.
So the Democrats, their bill included the word cannabis more times than it did jobs. What was their objective when it came to the negotiations?
Well, it was to exploit the coronavirus to achieve ends that had nothing to do with the coronavirus. That's one example that you cited. Another example is, kind of expanding the coronavirus relief fund, which was aid to state and municipal governments. And we put out $150 billion in the CARES Act to do just that. We even supported some additional aid that would come up to a level that actually state officials have said would be helpful. But she wanted to go so far above and beyond to really push sort of a Democrat wish list that it was something that just was not realistic. And she kept saying, we're not moving. Well, the Republicans moved from $1 trillion to $1.6 trillion. That's twice the size of the bailouts that were at the end of Bush and beginning of Obama administrations. These are massive amounts of money. So we were very much negotiating in good faith. We understand there are some people who are suffering who need help. But the speaker and the Democrats were trying to pile on this wish list and exploit the situation unfairly.
Well, and so you've already sort of touched on this, but I just have to ask, do you think the speaker acts in good faith? Because it seems to me, based on the information that Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe released this week, which appears to indicate many people, including President Obama, knew about Hillary Clinton's Russia hoax scheme. Therefore, the whole impeachment process was absolutely unforgivable. I mean, it was just unforgivable and in bad faith. How does the president work with someone like that going forward?
It's a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge. At some point, you just have to walk away, and that's what the president did. And people are saying the president called off these negotiations at this point. Look, he's already tweeted sort of indicating we would still be willing to do something that would actually make sense, but his sort of announcement that we're not going to be playing these games anymore was really the result of the speaker not actually negotiating. She was putting on a show because she didn't want to be blamed for the lack of solutions leading up to the election. But the fact is she is to blame. The Republicans put forth a number of proposals that no one objects to, and she wouldn't even come near them. And it's because she doesn't want the American people to have help before the election because she thinks it would help President Trump. This is a purely political game she's playing that is hurting really hardworking American people, and it's terrible. It's really unforgivable. And what the director put out this week is showing that our country endured a sham for years. And really, it's unfortunate that more of the media is not covering this because it shows that they were out to get the president from second number one, and they have not relented. And it shows that what he has endured didn't have to happen. This was manufactured by the Democrats, and it was peddled by the media, and our Congress ended up wasting years and millions of dollars on this thing that was a total sham from the beginning.
So what I'm hearing you say is the president basically wants to pass and sign various aspects of these bills or of the bill where Democrats and Republicans agree, but Speaker Pelosi is saying no, it's all or nothing. Is that accurate?
Yes. I mean, I think that sounds right. Broad brush. I mean, like I said, the chief has been talking about this, Mark Meadows. The president has talked about this, that if they did stimulus checks to people who need them, okay, he's on board. If they did airline relief for that industry to help that critical industry, okay, he's on board. If they did school relief so that we can get schools open and parents can go back to work, okay, he's on board. I mean, it's all these things that are unobjectionable where everybody agrees. We're saying, okay, let's do those things. And the speaker is saying, no, unless you come to our $2.4 trillion Christmas tree, we're not going to play ball. Well, that hurts so many Americans. It's really a terrible way to do business.
So another major portion of the president's agenda is that hearings for Supreme Court nominee Judge Amy Coney Barrett are scheduled to begin on Monday. Do you anticipate the Democrats going after her faith like they did when she was confirmed the first time?
Yes, they already are. It's a shame. It's really terrible. I mean, as the president said, I thought we finished this when JFK was elected president in 1960. People were saying, oh, we can't have a Catholic, he'll be beholden to the Pope and instead of the Constitution. I mean, this sort of ridiculous discrimination on religious bases, we thought we put this to bed. Unfortunately, we're seeing it pop up all over the place. There have been recent news articles sort of resurrecting this ridiculousness, and we're sad to see it. But look, Judge Barrett is a perfectly qualified nominee. She's served with distinction on the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. She was an outstanding professor at Notre Dame Law School. She was a terrific clerk at the Supreme Court, where clerks from across the political spectrum endorsed her candidacy to be a federal appeals court judge because she's a thoughtful and qualified person. So we're confident that she will get through. It's unfortunate that she will face attacks before she does, but we're ready to defend her because she is worthy of defense. She's an excellent nominee, and our country needs someone who will uphold the Constitution and the Bill of Rights perhaps now more than ever.
We're just about out of time, but I got one more question for you. So there have been numerous reports across the country of mail being dumped and discarded that oftentimes includes mailed-in ballots. What needs to be done to safeguard that voters who are using absentee ballots or voting by mail are going to have their vote counted?
Yeah, I mean, the president has encouraged people to really be diligent and to follow up with your local election authorities. If there's a vote in person option, where you can actually see your ballot being scanned and counted, that is something that we're all used to doing. And frankly, if you can go to the supermarket which everybody can, even during the pandemic, you just wear your mask, you use your hand sanitizer, all the rest. If you can do that, you can vote. So, voting in person is an excellent way to do it. If you are doing absentee or something else, make sure that your ballot is counted. There should be a way to check. If you go to your election site or your election officials and you're trying to vote, but your vote has already been counted, well, they should know that. And they should be able to tell you your vote's already been counted. You don't get to vote today because you already voted. That's kind of what he's talking about. And there was a firestorm saying that he's telling people to vote twice. No, he's not. He's just telling you to make sure your vote is counted. And that's what we really want. We want to make sure it's one person, one vote, that the winner of the election is the winner of a fair election. So that's the goal here. And the president's right. He's been vilified for it unfairly, but the president's 100% right.
Brian Morgenstern, White House Deputy Press Secretary and Deputy Communications Director, thanks for joining me today.
It's my pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me.
This is the Kyle Olson Show. We'll be right back.